we're having a good times midweek here with a young fellow, Joshua Mercer, and so he stays long. We go to 8:30 or past on Wednesday nights, and I was expecting him today. I don't know if it's the weather or the holiday or whatever, but we are enjoying his inquiry, and it's with him in view that I pick topics that are of our benefit and his for the sermon and for the teaching. Well, we remember here too now, school is up and running again, and that has all sorts of things with it. In one's own lifetime, it's just, yes ma'am, you cannot. Fred, can you improve the volume a little? Is that a little better? Is that testing one? Testing? Okay. I don't want to force my voice, but I want it to all right, very good. And thank you. Be sure and raise your hand. I was just saying about the cost of education. I could give the numbers, but the point is our government, in trying to educate everybody, has done it in the most backward, unintelligent, wicked, wrongful ways. Because the result is now, the young people coming out of college, they have more debt than they can manage. There weren't the jobs for them, and they weren't given good counsel to have what's called a merchantable skill. Now that's a skill for which you can receive financial remuneration to support a family and to raise a family. So what the thing is that young people are not looking forward to families. They're delaying the getting married, and the children are being delayed even beyond that. And part of the heavy hangs over thy head is an insurmountable debt. And now the government and the politicians are talking about, let's just forgive the debt. Well, we have been operating, I was born in 1932 in the depths of the Depression. And we learned that deficit spending brought us out of the Depression. So it was a good thing. Well, that wasn't the right way to say that, but the point is mismanaging things is bad. I ask the question this way, and I like to just teach it in a very simple thing. Suppose, just to make the numbers easy, suppose, and let's just talk in percent, if I spend 5% more than I take in, I'm going into debt 5%, am I not? And if that trend continues, my debt gets bigger, and the bigger it gets, the faster it grows in indebtedness. Now that has to be turned around, but let's ask this question. How long can I continue that overspending? Well, no, it's real simple. As long as somebody, somewhere, somehow, somebody has to loan me money, and that money is at some risk. All money loaned or borrowed is at risk. That's the definition. So that you can see, when we take it on the national scale, how long can we keep... I can remember as a teenager, my father and my uncle worrying and wringing their hands over the indebtedness of our nation. Well, in those days it was in the millions, and then now we go into the billions, and we're into the trillions. Now, does anybody know what a trillion is? It's a million. To to just say it means. It's out of sight. Now, the next question is, as we look out into the world, we're only understanding that two nations, and they're both Oriental, one's China and the other's Japan, and they, as it were, they take our money as a security for buying more than we're paying for. See, they're loaning us money to buy their products even. So you see, it's the hand scratching your own back and so on, and it's a weird thing. And you might say, how do we get away with it? Because when we came into the Obama administration, the debt of the free world, debt of our country was $9 trillion, but he, in his own 8 years, made it up to $19 trillion. $1 trillion a year in round numbers, a little more. Who ever heard of that? But now we haven't cut back a bit. Mr. Trump is doing that much or more, but he has an economy now that is. But the strange thing is this: we print the money. So the only thing I was personally, I've worried about the dollar, that it's weak. What's backing it? You know what backs up your money? Only one thing. It's a word, and it's called confidence. That's it. But not to worry, we can't run out of money unless we run out of paper, because we print it. That's the thing. So we know it's risky, but we tie a rope around the, we use a restraint. Well, there isn't much restraint, is there? Because when we got away with the hundreds of thousands, next thing you know, we were millions. Well, that sounded risky, but folks got used to it, and they liked it. And it's inflation. I like to talk about inflation. My father bought some farmland for $35 an acre. Well, I sold some of that farmland for $2,500 an acre. And the farmland didn't grow 1 square inch, did it? Now then, when I turn around and sold it for $2,500, you know what the government says? Ivan, we want a big piece of that in taxes. So who made the money on my farmland? Well, they say I did, but really I lost, because really a chunk of those acres the government took. And the production of the crops wouldn't pay. Well, anyway, we cannot, any of us, we can't operate the church that way, although we could keep spending more if somebody would what? Loan us more. That's where we are. Our indebtedness here is 0. And anyway, that I should turn things around. But here again now, this financial situation is affecting, and this is why young folks are not getting married. And if they're not married, then they're more reluctant to have children. These are children out of wedlock, so fewer children. The answer is we're digging our own grave because we're not even replacing ourselves. Do you know what the number is? That every woman, as an average now, has to produce how many babies to keep it even, just even. No growth in population. For every funeral, there's a birth. Even, what's the number? 2.1. Do you know what they are? Well, the white folks are about 1.6 in the USA. In some places in Europe, it's 1.2, 1.3, up to 1.5. Every one of the nations of Europe is 1 point something. Every one of them. Well, then, why don't well, they have immigrations come in to do what? Well, do some of the chores. They'll do your laundry and mow your grass class and so the answer is that society is crumbling, not getting stronger. Well, yes, so and the churches are affected. Christian giving isn't where it ought to be. It isn't there. And yet somehow too, the pulpit supply it just isn't there. I've been looking since I came. I came here as a retiree. Well, that's almost 25 years ago. So I've, so to speak, now I don't have any intention of quitting, but I don't see anybody that's here to pick up the reins if I lay them down. But then we, but I mean, the world is, they're not managing things well at all. And this accounts for killing the babies, a lack of wedlock, the society is gone, all this murder and everything. We've taken the training of morals and Bible value. The human life is divinely originated and special, and that isn't taught. If we're just an accident of nature, humankind is nothing but a monkey with a few extra modifications. Oh, that's so wicked. But the young people, the suicide among young people, and the despair of young people, that's very tragic. My. So the message should get out, and yet well, so we have a real situation. We have a prayer letter. I didn't make copies of it. I want to give it to you from the Kresmeyers down in Brazil. And Paul and his wife Mariana, their son, they're back. They're going into Sao Paulo. When you have S-A-O, you want to make that O like an N that you swallow. Sao Paulo. And that means, that's saint, and so on. Yeah. All right. Nina is holding her own pretty well. She has slight ups and downs. She'll leave the refrigerator door open. She will just forget things, and it's hard to keep up with her. And taking pills. If I tell her to take a pill and she almost have it in her hand, if I turn around or something, she doesn't take it. So I don't just watch her like a hawk, and then sure enough, and then she'll miss a thing, and then the kids get after me. So I don't watch her. Well, okay. But I just say we'll just do the best we can, and that's it. But still, she's cordial, she's happy, congenial. If things get, if the attitude messes up their cooperation, whatever, well, that makes it worse. But the relationship is just very fine, very fine. Yeah. All right, let's have our next hymn, and then